mouth at the sound Jimmy Hart. Hey, check out my new tag team, baby, Ronnie and the Pharaoh.
Hey, Jimmy, don't forget to tell them about Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast.
Well, you know what, I would, but you already did it.
It's Monty and the Pharaoh.
The Monty and Pharaoh Show.
Monty and Pharaoh, bro.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
The Monty and the Pharaoh.
You've got the future Hall of Famer, that rocker, Marty Jannetty, MJ in the house, and I'm sitting here with two more future Hall of Famers, Monty and the Pharaoh. We're doing that stuff and we gonna rock it.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
It's Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
And Monty and the Pharaoh. Oh, is it Monty and the Pharaoh?
Monty and the Pharaoh. Monty and the Pharaoh. Hey, cut music. When you want the best in professional wrestling, Long Island, there's only one place you're going to get it, right here.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Now, that's not just the coolest, and that's not just the best. That, my friends, is just incredible.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Duh.
I'm having one fun with Monty and the Pharaoh, and I'm going to put him in a crossface chicken, and he's going to go down right now. Yeah.
Hey! Nikita Koloff, the Russian Nightmare! And you're watching the #1 show on Long Island with Monty and the Pharaoh.
They didn't pay the guy.
Okay.
They put a belt on him, and the guy stayed. Oh, I'm the champion.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. Monty and the Pharaoh, only seen here out of Indie Music TV in Long Island, where we have a special guest. Our honor, we are humbled to have the former NWA champion and pro wrestling legend, Mr. Ronnie Garvin.
Oh,
yeah, brother. Yeah.
How we doing there, Rugged Ronnie, or is it Hands of Stone?
I like Hands of Stone.
Yeah.
Whichever you prefer.
Oh.
I have so many nicknames. I started the first 10 years, they called me One Man Gang. And, yeah, for
One
10
Man
years.
Gang.
Yeah, at the beginning of my career.
Okay.
And then I had the name of Rugged DN, and it was courtesy of Vince McMahon. Before that, I was Hands of Stone.
And that was courtesy of?
That was, what was the announcer?
That Gordon Soley?
Gordon Soley.
Oh, boy,
well,
he
you
gets
know,
nicknames from Vince McMahon and Gordon Soley.
That's what I'm talking
You really know your history.
There you go. There you go.
Financially independent. Don't have to be very rich, but just enough to live for a year or two without being employed. Yeah, you could afford to do it. Because there was a lot of promoters that were a little bit shady. You know, not too many, but there was just a few too many.
Yeah, well.
And the word gets out, and they promise you the world, and then when you got there, it was not like today when you got contracts and everything has to be legal. In the old day, it was a handshake or my word is good, and their word was not good. So I told quite a few of them where to go. And, you know, guess what? 7, 8 years later, they called you. Oh, we'd like to have you, and put it down on paper.
Well, how do you get over those feelings, though, right? So someone really screws you over, you leave, and then they call you back. Like, is it hard to get over that, or is it just business? All right, well, you know.
No, I treat them like
Oh, you can say that
I
here.
tell them eat and die.
There you go.
Good for you.
There you go. You know,
But, you know, prime example, Crockett and I, we had a big dispute. And I was back there, and I was the world's champion like 7 years later. You know, they were wrong. And a lot of times people recognize, you know, they screwed me over some deal I had, and it was part of the, George Scott was the booker, and he was not a good guy. Not to me, anyway. So, you know, everything turns out okay. If you know what you're worth, and they don't have anything to throw back at you, like you were late, you were drunk, you was on drugs, you got arrested. No, I did my job.
right,
I showed up on time,
right.
and I put out 100%. So that way, they can't come back at you with anything.
Did you find Vince McMahon Jr.'s word or / integrity as your booker when you worked for him? Did you find him to actually be more honest than some of these other promoters?
Oh, I
you're
think
talking?
so. Yeah,
Very interesting, because all the time, all we ever hear is this Vince is evil and he's this, but he's more honest than some of the guys you dealt with.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
I never had a problem, and I'll tell you what, I respect him because the man had a vision about this profession, wrestling. And we had promoters that have been promoting for like 40, 50 years that didn't want to change. And like it or not, the world changes.
Sure.
It might be going too fast changing for my liking.
Sure.
But, he had a vision, and he's obviously a very smart man. He's a billionaire.
Well, did you find him to be ruthless? Like,
No.
you hear all these wrestling experts go, this ruthless corporation, or even talking about this whole Mickey James situation. Oh, my God, they treat these wrestlers bad, or is it Vince was a
Well,
businessman?
you have a choice. You take the job or you don't.
Imagine that
I
concept.
mean,
Wow. Wow.
who runs your life but you?
Right.
Right. And you complain. But most people that complain usually is the people that blew their money away. They were making big bucks, and they went crazy, partying and drugs and you name it. And then at the end of their career, now they're sour because they're broke,
Right.
or near broke, or whatever. And I never had that problem.
Does Vince owe these, well, I'll use one name, superstar Billy Graham, right?
He created those guys. He created them. Hulk Hogan, he created them. I was in the NWA, but the promoters didn't know what to do with them. They said, well, go see McMahon.
Whoops.
That's what they did, send you off.
Look what they
Just go to
lost.
McMahon.
Look what they lost.
Yeah.
If they would have had any idea about
No idea.
what to do with them.
Yep.
The guy had a physique, good talker.
Oh, yeah.
Well, looked great.
Sure.
Might not have been the best wrestler, but look at the career.
Right.
What's more important, mic skills or mat skills?
Ooh.
I think you need both.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was not that good on the mic, but I think I produced in the ring, and and on the size too.
Right.
That's why I stayed in shape.
Right.
If you start to grow a belly, you're not going to go very far in wrestling.
Well, I don't know about that nowadays. Now some of them have bellies and do cartwheels. I can't
Very
anymore.
good.
By the way, speaking of wrestling vision, when did it all start for the Hands of Stone's vision? How do you become a wrestler? When does it first pop into your head? How does it all start for you?
My aunt took me to a wrestling match, way back in Canada, Montreal Forum.
Nice.
And I liked it. I was 13 years old, and at 15, I went to a gym and started learning and working out. At 17, I was heading for Boston.
So you knew?
Told everybody back then I was 19.
So you knew first time you watched it, or basically what you read, like I want to do
Well,
this.
I played a little hockey, but you had to be a super. There was so many hockey players in Canada.
You think?
What kind of living would I make? Unless I was a super, hockey player. But I wasn't. I was a slow guy. I played defense, and there was no way I was going to go anywhere in hockey.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then in wrestling, well, everything depends on you. It's not a teamwork. That's why I never liked tag team too much. It was okay. I tag team with some of the guys that I really like, but I want everything to depend on me. If I fail, who do you blame? If you're in a team, you want to blame the others.
You won a lot of belts not liking it, though. I'll tell you that. I was reading your resume last night. That's a lot of tag titles, too.
Yeah, tag titles, and singles, and yeah.
Sure.
Well, sometimes the problem is your partner. It's not you. But all the partners I had were good, so I had to do my part. I had good partners. I had Barry Windham and guys like that. Tiger Conway Jr. I forgot.
Terry Garvin was all over that.
Terry Garvin, yeah, that's how I started.
List.
Terry had wrestled amateur in Canada.
Well, speaking of Terry Garvin, right? Everybody's aware of that whole Ring Boy scandal thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Did you foresee problems with Terry with this type of situation, or what were your feelings about that whole thing when you were hearing about
That had
it?
to weird you out a
Terry
little
was
bit.
like that. He was one of the biggest ribber He would joke with people. He would all kinds, and everybody knew he was gay. So was Pat Patterson, even in the 70s.
There's no secret behind the scenes.
They weren't embarrassed about it, and that's their life.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I don't interfere with people's life. Your choice is your choice.
Right.
As long as it ain't mine.
Do you ever see anything suspicious with the, like any weirdness or with the young kids, setting up the ring at the times on,
But he would joke with them, and back then people had a phobia. I get. Oh, he's gay. Well, he didn't attack anybody.
Right.
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I was his partner for quite a few years. And we never went to the same places. Nighttime, he was gone all night long. I don't know where he went. Didn't care. I didn't live with the guy.
Right.
I traveled with him. And he was a fun guy. He loved to joke.
Well, so speaking of that, right, you lived a pretty clean life, right? And you've been around some guys that haven't lived such a clean life, and I would assume, just like a regular life, do some bad things. How hard is it to, separate business when you don't agree with what someone's doing?
I'm not involved as long as they don't interfere with my life. If it interferes with my life, I'll speak out, But what people do in their private life, I couldn't care less.
You just stayed out of it, basically.
Live and let live.
It's the old saying, we don't swim in your toilet, don't pee in my pool. Right?
I like that.
What?
That's copyrighted, Ronnie. You can't take it.
When we did interviews, everything was from here.
Yeah.
It wasn't scripted. It wasn't somebody wrote it for you. I couldn't do that. That's why I don't think I'd make a good actor. Following the script.
What was it like working with the Poffos, back in the ICW days?
It was interesting.
Are they were on camera off screen? Because if so,
they
wow.
They were different kind of people that I was used to. I mean, everybody has their own way, but Angelo Poffo was a different animal. I've never been around people like that, where money was their god.
Really?
Absolute god.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially Angelo. And Randy. Lanny was happy-go-lucky guy, nice guy. I just watched the way they operated, and better rich and dead than poor and alive. I heard that every day.
I've heard him quote.
It was almost like a prayer.
Wow.
And I said, that don't make no sense. Better rich and dead than poor and alive. Poor people have a great time sometimes.
It's true.
They drink moonshine, they party, they smoke a joint,
a couple of aspirin in the morning, interview Rugged Ronnie, wait a minute, what do I say?
And if you were poor, they didn't have any respect for you. There was a few wrestlers, they knew they were broke, and they just, they didn't have no respect.
Did you see the potential in Macho Man Randy Savage back in those days?
I didn't think he'd go that far. He was very
interesting.
He's a talented guy.
Oh, yeah.
Very talented, And but he was like that in life, 24 hours a day.
He was.
He was paranoid. I think.
Wow.
I might be wrong. I'm not a psychiatrist.
So he was wound up like an alarm clock.
A couple of times I would do something, nice or something. What are you doing that for? And he was always on the lookout for. I never understood it.
So he was paranoid, like everybody was said.
I think so. I think
this is before
paranoid,
Elizabeth, isn't it? Wow.
But the only real fight I had in wrestling was with him.
Do tell.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Well, it didn't last very long.
It didn't last very long. What caused it? What?
I was wrestling for Jim Crockett.
Okay.
And they just came in, him and Angelo and Leaping Lanny, into the promotion. And I didn't know them. I had heard of them, but I didn't know them. So I'm booked to wrestle in Columbia, South Carolina. And my partner was Tiger Conway Jr. And I go way back, the guy's a nice guy. I used to know his dad, nice family. And so we get in the ring, and I knew something was wrong, There was something going on with the Poffos against him.
Okay.
And, if you're my partner, I'm going to stick with you.
Sure.
I ain't leaving you.
Sure.
So during the match, man, they was cussing. I mean, it was,
real shots being thrown?
Yeah, it wasn't going real well.
Okay.
And anyway, at the end, it happened. They were going to jump him, And so I got involved. And as walking around the ring, keeping Lanny at bay, because it was one-on-one at that point, you know. And Lanny was kicking at me and everything, but he was keeping his distance, you know. And I didn't want to hurt Lanny or really get in a fight with him.
So Lenny was like half-hearted into this whole situation?
Well,
kinda?
when I got around the ring, Randy was on top of Tiger.
Okay.
And they put a rope around the ring on those pedestal thing,
Sure.
concrete bottom.
Sure.
I picked that up, and that was the end of the fight.
Jeez.
So, well,
Ow.
some people got hurt in the process, in the schmalls, you know,
And that,
at ringside, you know.
wow.
Well, not hurt bad, but maybe their ankles,
Yeah.
you know, they got, you know.
A victim of circumstance.
But anyway, I got all
Yeah.
the blame,
There you go.
you know.
There you go.
And so that's when I left the promotion, you know, which I didn't care. You know, I was wrestling the next day
You
somewhere.
mentioned Jim Crockett. We lost him recently.
Yeah.
Can you share your feelings on Jim Crockett Jr.?
Jim was a good guy, but he was, you know, I think he was a little bit gullible when it come to Dusty controlling everything.
Mm.
And Flair, you know, they would really take advantage of him, I think. They convinced him to buy jets, airplane, you know, and all the things they were doing and promoting, you know. And but Jimmy even bought Dusty a brand new Mercedes sports one, you know. He was mesmerized with him, and you know, the guy was booking cards with 30, 40 guys on it. I mean, come on, you know, it's not quantity of matches, it's the quality of the matches.
So if you watch these wrestling documentaries, right,
Yeah.
and they have Rhodes on there or Flair, they're like, if Crockett just would have stayed in the Carolinas,
Oh.
we'd have been fine. But you're saying they're part of the reason this all happened.
Yes, yes. Well, and that's why Dusty wound up wrestling up here with polka dots, because he used to knock Vince on every interview we did in NWA.
Sure.
He always put a dig, and Vince is a genius.
Right.
He put polka dots on him.
And then and there's a
And
bodyguard
that's why-
named Virgil. Big bang! Don't screw at me, Dusty.
I picked up on it so fast. I said, "My God," because I didn't know Vince.
Right.
You know, I never talked to him for long periods of time. You know, it was just small talks. And I said, "What a genius!" Instead of the old promoters, the NWA promoters would have told him to go screw himself.
Mm.
Vince, no, he made money with him, and Dusty made money. But Vince made money.
But then they also ruined his career so he could go nowhere else because he was the one wearing polka dots.
Go from the American dream to a polka dot man.
With Sapphire. Does Dusty Rhodes get a free pass? What I mean by this is Hulk Hogan always gets murdered on the internet for being selfish and self-serving, and he didn't put this guy over and he didn't put that guy over. But it sounds to me like before Dusty got to Vince McMahon, when he was doing his NWA thing, that behind the scenes he was pretty self-serving. He was pretty
I've known
selfish.
Dusty. We traveled the roads early in the 69, the 70, 68, 69 in Florida. Him and Dick Murdoch were there. And they're a little bit younger than me. And I was driving them around. Well, I mean, they rode with me. They liked to ride with me because I drove pretty fast, and I didn't mind if they drank beer. And they were nice guys. But when he became a booker and involved in the promotion, that's when he changed. You know, I don't hate him. I just, you know, I saw a lot of stuff he was doing.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was right.
So personal feelings aside, I mean,
I don't hate
he was
people.
ruthless. He was ruthless behind the
That's one thing I
scenes.
put out of my mind. If I don't like somebody, I ignore them. I
Right.
don't hate them. I
Right.
just pretend they don't exist.
How did you ignore the polka dots later on? That had to be rough. That's a hard thing to ignore.
Well, how can you
just close my eyes?
Here's one thing you couldn't close your eyes on. What was your relationship like with Andre the Giant?
Oh, great. What a guy.
Okay.
I wrestled him. I
Okay.
beat him in Knoxville, Tennessee, 1978.
Wait a minute. You beat Andre the Giant?
Yeah.
What's
What?
the story?
You can look it up.
Wow. I thought I did my homework. No, actually, I was aware of it, but please tell us the
I
details.
got videos, but never of the ending. That was a no-no.
So it was a tag match?
No. Yeah, no, it was a handicap.
Handicap
He had a
match.
partner, and I was, yeah.
Andre and a
Andre
partner
had a
against you.
Yep.
Against you?
Yeah. But
Who was the partner?
His partner was Welsh. What was his name? Roy Lee Welch.
Okay.
I had broken Roy Lee Welch's hand. He was in a cast. So he was a partner with a hand in a cast, which he didn't come in the ring. What happened is he challenged me. I wrestle anybody. And that's when I was the one-man gang.
And he sprang Andre on you.
I was the one-man gang.
That's pretty cool.
And I said, I'll wrestle anybody. Superman, anybody. So they tricked me on TV to sign a contract. And then when I find out it was Andre the Giant, oh my God, you guys going to kill me. And I said, well, I'll do it in one condition. I says, he has a partner. It has to be booked as a handicap match. Andre the Giant and Roy Lee Welch against Ronnie Garvin. And that's how they booked the show. It was sold out in Knoxville, and he was a hell of a guy.
So you pinned Roy then?
Well, actually, I pinned him, and he got disqualified as the referee counted 3. He pushed me so high, I went over the top rope and he got DQ'd. But I got highlights of the match when he's down and I'm coming off the top rope on him and I'm beating the hell out of him. I hit him over the head with a chair. I was a one-man gang, so I was trying to kill the Giant. I used to tell the guys, you're 6'6", and if I'm 5'10" or 11, when we're laying on our back, we're the same height, and that's the object of wrestling. To pin somebody.
Right.
So you're no taller than I am. And when you got a big guy and you take him off his feet and he's down, makes you look like a giant. It does.
So at the time where they give you the NWA strap, Jimmy Garvin was your stepson, right?
Yeah.
As your stepson. Yeah. Was Jimmy supposed to win the belt, or was it always planned to give you the title?
Wow.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think so.
How did you end up getting the strap then? How was that decision made?
That's what they wanted. That's what they wanted,
Were you forgive me though. Were you 42 at the time that you got the strap?
Yeah.
Wow. Were you surprised when they came to you with that?
No. Well, what they did is I kind of figured it out. I beat all the 4 horsemen.
Oh.
And
that'll do it.
I was the one man gang, Hands of Stone, and so I'd have matches, man. They'd send 2 or 3. They'd come in one after another, and man, I'd beat the heck out of everybody. And I was getting over. I was, and I guess they decided. I think they wanted to give it to Magnum, but he had that accident, and so that was their decision, not mine.
You had to be pleased.
I was surprised. I never was. Belts didn't mean a whole lot to me.
Okay.
Was money.
How about that belt, though?
You can give me $20 payoff and put all the belts you want. They did that in the old days.
Okay.
They didn't pay the guy.
Okay.
They put a belt on him, and the guy stayed. Oh, I'm the champion.
Ronnie, when you were in Puerto Rico, what were your thoughts on Colon and the Bruiser Brody murder? Oh.
Well, I went there and I benefited from that because they boycotted.
People didn't want to go there.
I have been there way, way before that. And I always liked Carlos. I've knew him for a long time. And I didn't have a beef with anybody. And I think it happened between 2 guys. I wasn't there, but, And Brody, I love the guy. He flew with me quite a bit. I traveled with him, but he was pushy. He was a pushy guy, which a lot of guys are.
He was clearly headstrong.
Probably guilty of that myself. And the guy that stabbed him had lost 2 little girls, drowning.
Right.
So he might have been a little bit. And Brody probably said, "Hey, I'm not going to do this. This is the way it's going to go." Blah 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 blah, and probably a little verbal argument. And the guy came back in with a towel around his hand, and I wasn't there, but that's what I hear.
Your thoughts when you heard the news?
I thought it was horrible.
Devastated.
But he was a small guy, and maybe he was threatening. I'm not justifying anything, because he never went to jail.
Right.
And murder is murder.
Yeah.
I wrestled Abdullah 3 or 4 different times.
Down in Puerto Rico?
No, in Puerto Rico, I think I did once. And then other places, I can't remember what town.
Was it a bloodbath?
Yeah. You were all over the building. You did a tour of the building, upstairs, downstairs, around, in the bathroom.
Right. There's a great hot dog stand by the bathroom on the 2nd level. Let's go over there, grab something to eat.
That's
Sure. Your legacy, of course, mostly sits, obviously, with the NWA, former world champion, all the days through the territories, dominating. What was it like when you finally got to the WWF? I mean, was it like known today as the WWE? Was that like culture shock? I mean, how different was it?
It was. I got there, and after I got there, I said, what do I do? I'm surrounded with monsters. There's more gimmicks going on and angles, and I mean, and the whole idea of the business is to get on pay-per-view. That's where the big money was, pay-per-view, and that was new to me. I think we had a couple, I think, with Crockett. It was just the beginning of it, And, of course, it didn't take a genius to figure that out. That's what you got to get on. And I said, man, you get lost here. How do you stand out? So I looked at Greg, and I like Greg. Valentine. And so I talked to him. And I said, you want to work with me? And he's my style. I mean, we beat the dog out of each other. And one thing about Flair, I did the same thing with Flair, and he never complained. And I respected that.
So you do have hands of stone for real.
I'm not the only one.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
So,
Ow.
So I ran something by him about, and the whole thing was my idea. Wind up a referee and losing and come back.
Yeah, you shafted him.
Well,
yeah, really bad.
But
go on.
I'd done that in the past. I'd done that 3 or 4 times in the past. But every time I lost and lose or leave, I'd come back with a mask. I was Mr. Knoxville. I was Mr. Fort Myers. I was Mr. Ugali. I was Mr. And I would wrestle with my boots, my initials, RG. So the commentator would say, I think you're Ronnie Garvin. You got RG on your boots.
That's funny.
And I would say, no. This means rugged grappler. Rough grappler. And, oh, really? And so I said, well, let's change it. And I'll come back as a referee. I'll go get a license. Anybody can be a referee, but providing you have a license up north. In the south, you don't need a license. So that's what I did. And then I was in his time, I mean,
oh yeah,
just drive him crazy.
Yep.
And
yep.
It got
you
over.
retired my favorite wrestler back then. Thanks a lot.
It
Thanks
got
a lot.
over. And we had some hell of a matches.
There's a lot of wrestling experts out there always pushing for a union.
Oh, that's the worst thing can happen.
Why?
Please explain.
Why? I mean, you're a grown-up human being, a wrestler with muscles this big, some of them, and they can't do their own deals. They can't talk. They can talk on TV. Well, go to the promoter and tell him what you want. And if he doesn't want to give it to you, we'll go somewhere else. That's that simple. You're not forced to do anything. It's like when they try to blame Vince for the drugs. I didn't do drugs. There was a problem. It's an individual problem.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way a promoter's going to know what you're doing in your private life. And unions is the same way. Unions is a way to get, who makes the most money out of that?
The union.
The union. Right.